Unfiltered. He's Isaac.
He's Philip, and we're back.
We're back.
Once again. You know, I was thinking these last couple of guests we've had on, we've done kind of like introductions, and I don't know that we ever really have like done that for each other.
Really?
I don't know. Have we like gone through, talked about who they are? I mean, people might know you're a chiropractor, but do they know that you're also like the best golf player, one of the better ones I know? You know, beat me every time in golf.
Oh, my.
Or that you've got a passion about sauning and then running out into the cold and standing for 5 minutes on cold concrete. I mean,
that is fun.
There's some fun things about you, you know.
We're pretty fun guys.
I think so.
Yeah.
We like a good time.
We're a fun trio here.
Lyndsey's fun too.
Yeah. Lots of fun. Should we talk about how fun we are for a while?
Yeah, let's just brag on ourselves for a minute.
Just do that. You know?
We've all got dogs. Love dogs.
That's true. And they're all friends.
They're all crazy. Very energetic.
5 dogs between the three of us.
That's right. Have we ever had them all together at one time, though? I don't think we have.
Not since Pepper's been in the mix.
That would be nuclear.
Right.
Or Samson. I don't.
That's true. Pepper and Samson were new.
Mm-hmm.
It'd have to be at the farm.
It would.
It would
have to be.
That's true.
Yeah.
We need room for that.
Yeah.
Can't all be in one house together.
Right.
Oh, other dogs are not allowed in this house because Nala will eat them.
Nala's very territorial.
For being the smallest of them all, she's got a lot. She's got a lot of drive.
Spicy.
She's spicy.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's so funny. Which cracks me up that she's territorial like this because she just came into my house this morning when I let my dogs in.
She's
The world
made
is
your
her
house
oyster.
her territory.
Right. She's like, this is also my house.
Right.
So is like Dobbendeck Park and the other side of the highway.
Honestly, give it time. Give her enough time to.
She can get there. It's hers.
Yeah.
True statement. If she gets bored enough, she'll leave.
Which,
Got to keep her entertained.
yes.
Another fun fact, you have 2 adorable children. I don't know if everyone would know that, but
Right.
you got 2 great kids.
That's right.
It's true.
Ellie and Jack.
Ellie and Jack.
And
Love 'em.
even with our dog, the initials is PB and J.
Oh, my goodness. That's awesome.
Because Ellie and Jack, P for Philip, Bridget.
Yeah.
And then if you make the B, the BE, like
Sure.
you will be this thing, BE, B. And then the N. Don't say and, just say N. PB and J. There's the Nala and then the J for Jack.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I like it.
Didn't so much as plan it as just like discovered it one day.
And then you're
you
like,
know?
wow, we're a sandwich.
Right. But I love peanut butter and jelly with all of my soul and heart that I am.
So it
you know?
just fits. This is how it was
does
supposed
just
to
fit.
be.
Correct.
So
Yes.
so if you have another child, then you're going to have to consider the name, how it'll fit into that acronym, right?
PB and JJ or something like that.
Double the
I don't
jelly.
know. Yeah, double the jelly.
Double jelly. Or you could do double peanut butter.
You could go with a T and make it like a toasted peanut butter and jelly.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So many options.
yeah, you've got,
I
you've got choices.
will take this into effect upon
Yeah,
consideration of next child's name,
Okay, yeah, get back to us with
Right.
that one.
which is not coming anytime soon as far as I'm aware, but
It's good.
things happen, you know, so
Right.
Things happen.
right. Versus you now, you on the other hand are pastoral extraordinaire with your own acreage and your tractor and your dogs and your cows and your Highland beef out
cows.
there, and
Beef. Yeah.
you've done a lot out there in the last, 2 years, your 2-year anniversary
Yeah,
of being
2
in
years.
town. You have like mesomorphed into things that are not the way that they were, you know?
It's just what happens, you know.
You
Show
were-
up and be
right.
active and things happen.
Yeah. Well, you are active. I'll say that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I like it.
For sure.
I like the activity. I'm like Nala. It's like, let me do something or
if you get
I'll go find something to
you're
do.
stuck in one space for too long, it's just boredom, you know,
Yeah.
or it's just can't have that.
Yeah, my parents were actually, so my birthday was this last week and I was with them and we were like having a dinner and my mom was like telling stories about when I was a baby. She said like you would get like over or understimulated like so easily. She's like the stimulation for you was like a big deal. I'm known in our family as being like the most difficult child of the 4 that they had.
Okay.
Like in many ways,
Sure.
but that was like one of them was like I think I was the toughest baby on my parents, like because
Wow.
I was not easily pleased. And
Everything
not-
was either too much or not enough.
yeah, exactly. Not easily content. I mean, like all of the people that were around, like they talk about how they just bounced me on their knee for like hours on end because that was like the only thing that would stop me from crying.
Oh my.
So, or my mom, she was saying she'd like it would have been like in March when I got home. I was born premature, so I was in the hospital for a while. I got home, still cold out, and she said I would just like cover you up with like all the gear we had and like put you in this dark like snowsuit and then take you outside on a walk. She's like, that was one thing that worked.
Wow.
So stimulation.
Stimulation.
It's been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
What about you, Lyndsey? Do you need that kind of like entertainment or interaction? We were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. We're like, those Myers-Briggs personality tests.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I take it, I'm like 51% extroverted.
Just barely.
49% introverted.
Complex person.
Right. But I would say that like if I spend like 6 hours with people, I only need about 2 hours to myself to like be fine after that.
But you need the 2 hours.
Right.
You need the
Otherwise,
break.
I'll be like, nobody speak to me.
But then on the opposite end, it's like if you're by yourself for too long.
Then I'm like, nobody loves me. I need to go hang out with people.
It's a lie. That's a lie.
I know it is. It's such a lie.
Yeah. What a
So
bunch.
funny.
What a bunch.
What a bunch we
Yeah. No kidding.
And you, viewer, are with us today.
Welcome to this ride that
Welcome.
you've
That's right.
endeared on. My goodness.
Yeah. All right. Good opening, everybody.
Well, God, I was watching Rogan too, and they're so chill. They are way more chill. Like Rogan's getting paid. It's like $250 million to have his Spotify hosted or his podcast hosted purely on Spotify.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that was the original contract. You'd have to look that up. But then, like, his studio, and I was watching the knees over toe guy, which we should talk about that in a little bit. And then I heard like a can crack, like within a minute. And it's, I work so hard to like get set up beforehand. I got my coffee, got my tea just because I was in the mood for it today. Got the water just because, dry throat, don't want any of that. We're going to talk for a while. And then they're just like in the middle of the.
cracking a beer.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I know they've done whiskey on the show before too.
Funny.
And it might have just been an energy drink or
Right.
something like that. But
Zevia.
maybe it
didn't
was
get it
Zevia.
away from the mic enough.
Correct. But that struck me so hard as like, we don't need to be all tidy and
Right. Fully
perfect,
correct in every.
I feel like my hair is crazy and I've got my Carhartt in case I need to just cover it up. But we're just out here.
Just doing our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different feeling to it though. And his are so long form. I mean, he goes like 3.5, 4 hours. It's like nothing for him to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's almost like they're just hanging out in his studio.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's his job.
Well, it is. Yeah. Welcome to my office.
Right. Pretty much. He's like, yeah, this is what we do all day.
Well, if you've ever looked at his table, like he's got so much stuff on there.
Yeah.
It's like the knickknacks.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's probably got like a fidget spinner or something. He's just probably not that, but something to just play with. I don't know.
Probably a great icebreaker. We should start loading up our stuff. I don't know.
Every time we see something cool, just get it and put it on the table.
Clean out your closet, bring it all here.
Right.
Yeah. Be watching for our next episode.
For the little
It's gonna
knickknacks.
look a little different.
Yeah. Well, and his with Jordan Peterson was, I think it was 4 hours and 13 minutes. And then the knees over toes guy was just an hour and 58 minutes. So it varies. And I wonder why. And I suppose the dynamic nature of the guest probably plays in a lot.
I'm sure it does.
For how long they can go. Jordan Peterson, if you know anything about him, that dude can talk.
Yeah.
And it takes him a long time to like set the background for the point he's going to make, because it's not going to be superficial.
Right. Yeah, he goes deep, very deep. I might have to listen to that one. That would be interesting.
Yeah. In pieces, I'm sure, or I don't know.
Yeah, like who has 4 hours and 15 minutes to just yeah, because that's not like background material either. It's not like I'm just going to put this on to have something in the background. Not Jordan Peterson.
No. Like if you want to absorb that, you've got to be focused.
Yeah, it's true. Well, so you said is it knees over toes?
That's his real name is Ben Patrick.
Okay.
But on Instagram, he's become known as just the knees over toe guy. And this came from before, like when you were squatting or doing a leg exercise, you're not supposed to let your knees go over your toes.
Oh.
But he, and his deep research, because he had major knee issues and had like a meniscus replacement and then had part of his kneecap replaced as well, which are crazy surgeries. And he was like 18. So his like life and functionality was supposed to be over. And then he just did a bunch of research, and I can't remember the guy's name that he followed, but it was this guy that had kind of a different perspective on rehab and knee strength, and that the farther out your knee can go over your toe with strength and stability is better for you in other dynamic motions, which is totally contrary to
Everything everybody ever says about squatting.
the traditional belief is never let your knee go over your toe or else you're asking for a knee injury. And here it is like, well, the farther you can go there with stability, the stronger you'll be.
So the traditional's like reducing stress on the knee, right?
Yeah.
And his is like, let's make it stronger by stressing it out.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the concept. Maybe it is. It's just different.
Knee over toes.
Knee over toes. Like, go ahead, let it out there. Get strong in that. Yeah.
Right. I feel
Like,
better about my
interesting.
squat now. My knees go past my toes.
Right.
Been doing
If
it
I-
right my whole
Right.
life.
Well, if I don't, my knee like clicks because
Oh.
the Ehlers-Danlos, the tendon wants to let it go, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But if I go past the toes, it's like not so bad.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting.
Well, and he talks about his training protocol too, because he will pull a sled 6 days a week and squat once, which was the only, like, again, totally contrary. It was like, want to get big, want to get strong, want to run fast, got to squat
all
big.
day.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And yet here he is, and he's huge on pulling a sled backwards as well.
Oh, wow.
In that
For the calf.
Chinese therapy and exercise sort of stuff, as they all were walking backwards. And then you have to, I'm just basically repeating what was in the podcast, but he talks about Finnish strong men and how strong their knee quads, how stable they were, and they attribute that to pulling trees out of forests, walking backwards while pulling a tree out.
Interesting.
And so that same like strength building concept he's applied to a sled. And now he is like 6'1", and he like gets into a full squat, like touches his butt to his calves, jumps straight up and dunks a basketball.
Wow.
Which is something he
That's
couldn't do
impressive.
in his prime pre-knee injury. But
That's
now he's
crazy.
like,
Holy cow.
crazy story.
Very interesting. Yeah.
But like results like that don't lie. Like,
Right.
and this is where we were chatting before the podcast too. We have great pre-podcast content. It's
Yeah, we
almost,
do.
It's like we don't need to do the introduction, and we should just start recording when we get down
Yeah.
here.
just be ourselves.
Lyndsey just needs to turn it on without us knowing.
Correct. Yes.
And then we'll record the intro later.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Let's do a voiceover.
Forgot why I just said that.
You were talking about our pre-podcast conversation. I think I know where you were going. Did it have to do with like the
Research.
the main like line of thinking, but then
Yes.
these other routes to
You're spot on.
yeah.
And this is why we do this, is because you're in my brain and you know where I'm going. It's
Yeah,
'cause
I was connecting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to go there, so take it.
Right. So here's this guy who's doing something contrary to what the textbooks might say is proper right now. And his body is living proof that this works. And the only thing you don't have is like long-term data. You don't know how his knees are going to be 20 years from now.
Right.
But like currently, he's way better than he was doing things the traditional way. But the textbooks say the traditional way is the right way. You know, so you have his anecdotal, experiential success story.
Right.
But then you have that being contrary to the textbook. So it's like, which way is actually correct? And
What do the experts say?
are the experts
And who are
wrong?
the experts?
Right. Are you an expert because you've only memorized a bunch of textbooks about the way things were? Or are you an expert because you're at the edge of cutting data and formulating the new theory?
That's true. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, do you put more value in the person who has the knowledge that's been compiled from others, or the person who's tried something themselves and seen results? And I mean, I suppose we all probably follow a myriad of those different approaches
Right.
to truth in different areas of life, or results in different areas of life.
Right.
'Cause-
And it's got to be a balance of both to some degree.
Yeah.
I mean, in one thing I feel like I've learned by doing this podcast, everyone should do a podcast, or at least sit down and have constructive conversations, is like very rarely are things purely black and white. And there are some situations where they are. And again, this is me saying not everything is black and white, but that gray area is where so much exists.
Yeah.
And it's a balance between this and that, which means you get option C or option 1,333 out of
Sure.
the 5,000 that there are. You know, there are so many. Yeah.
And I think about it too. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily that there isn't like a right and wrong answer, But it's like to get to that, you have to usually go through people, and people are not 100% right and 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Usually it's like the people make it the gray.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And yeah, so like with these results, it's like, are the experts 100% wrong about everything? Probably not. And is the, person that's derived their own experience from studying like a niche way of thought on that subject, are they 100% wrong or 100% right? Probably not.
Right.
But that's where we, the people, should, have a little critical thinking and develop our own beliefs and opinions,
Right.
rather than just buying in 100% to another person, because nobody's 100% right about everything or anything.
Which makes it hard, because then it's like, what do you do about anything? Because if you can't trust anything at first take, then it's like, well, that's a long life of,
You think. I mean, that's what it would seem to me. Like, think.
Oh, sure, that's what you do in response to
You
that.
think,
you
yeah.
think. You just sit and think for a
Yeah,
little while.
don't just blindly follow. Like,
Right.
think.
That's funny. I thought you were being like, that's what you think, Philip.
No, that's not what I was saying.
I
No.
thought you were going to bring a contrary. Yeah.
No,
I was like,
just
okay.
just a little one-word answer there.
Right on.
Think about it.
Think about it.
Right.
I'm into
Lots
it.
of thinking.
And I mean, even like with the podcasting, and you said a second ago, everyone should do a podcast, or everyone should sit down and have like conversations about things. I mean, that, in my vantage point, is what it really is. It's thinking, and then talking about the thoughts and listening to the thoughts of another, processing them, thinking about them, and then, developing new opinions or solidifying the ones you already have. But if you never do that, if you just listen and say, okay, they said it, so I'm in 100% for it.
Right.
I mean, there's no thinking involved in that.
Right.
It's like, it's the easy way out, is to just let someone else do the thinking for you.
Right.
So
And
we ought to think.
We ought to think. Well, that leads me into what we were talking about too, just a little bit ago, about you would rather talk to, not you, but this guy that we were talking about, would rather talk to someone who disagrees with me but knows what they believe and is about it, versus someone who agrees with me but doesn't really have it all going. They're on the fringe of it,
Yeah.
I would rather talk to someone who knows what they believe, is all about it, gets it, and can talk intelligently about our two different systems of whatever it is, whether it be politics, religion, or exercise, or knees over toe, That, again, fascinates me, too, because that's not necessarily a societal mindset that exists. We're not necessarily encouraging constructive conversations, even when I think back to presidential debates, and they were a train wreck, if you ask me, in my opinion. I mean, it was messy, and it was not something that was constructive, presidential debates. But yet, like, when I feel like Joe Rogan on his podcast has found a niche of constructive conversationalism about, let's hear what you have. Let's hear your findings.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. I'm gonna question you, because I'm in, like, he's basically an investigative journalist, like I'm gonna test you.
Well, I think there's an example of a person who, whether you agree with him or not, he knows what he believes, and he's going to be honest about that. And I'm not, making a blanket statement here, but I think where people find frustration in politics is that you don't really always get people that believe what they believe. And I think that's why, like you said, I feel like the presidential debates were just like a train wreck. And it's because I don't think it's so much about, I'm going to present what I truly believe. It's like, I'm going to say what I think you want to hear so that you'll vote me in. And that's the wrong way to do democracy. I mean, it really ought to be, here's what I'm about. So if you want this, vote for me. And there probably is a degree of that on some issues, but I think there's also that concern of, well, if I really say what I think, it's going to, take a segment of people and make them not like me. And I think that kind of goes into the tolerance issue. And I feel, this is just my perspective on it, but I kind of feel like a lie in the idea of tolerance is that we have to be in agreement about everything to be tolerant of each other. Like, I can't, if I express disagreement with something, well, I'm no longer tolerant. If I don't believe what you believe, I don't, now I'm not tolerant. I think that's a lie. I mean, you can be aware of other beliefs and have a conversation about them and still, be friendly and personable toward a person, even in disagreement. I mean, I think that's true tolerance, is like we are different
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we, respect each other. And I think that the idea of tolerance has created more of this like fringy kind of wishy-washy, I'm not really going to commit to believing anything because I don't want to be hateful toward anybody, or I don't want to be like labeled as someone who's intolerant or someone who's, any of these horrible things that I could be called. And I think that's the error in that, tolerance. I don't know if I'd call it a movement, but that kind of doctrine of tolerance where it's not really tolerating, it's more like conform.
Right.
And the danger in that is like if we take out the ability to believe different things, have productive conversation, and still, help each other and be good to each other, then what we've done is made it impossible to have different thoughts and to, develop beliefs.
Right.
We just have to be settled.
Disagreement is not a deal breaker.
Right.
Or it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
And that something mulling around in the brain the last couple weeks is everyone, I don't think unless you're fundamentally just different, everyone wants the world to be a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think everyone out there, especially if you're a public servant of some sort,
Mhm.
you're trying to make things better. We just can't always agree on the method that should be
Sure.
done, But that actually helped me be a little less judgy.
Mm.
And I didn't really even realize how judgy I was being until I realized like someone was putting this viewpoint forward. I disagreed with it, and I felt like, okay, we can no longer be friends because this is just a deal breaker, until I realized like, well, they just want the world to be a better place.
Mhm.
That's what I want,
Sure.
And so we at least have that in common. And why don't you focus on that for a second instead of on the thing that we disagree with,
Right.
which is just a snippet of all that you are about and all that I'm about.
Mhm.
And we probably agree on more than we disagree.
Yeah.
It's just this one thing is being brought to the surface and is being magnified, and it's not a true representation of who you are and who I am. And
Yeah.
social media sometimes, I would call that one pitfall of social media, is because it magnifies one thing and it doesn't let
Mhm.
you see the character and the depth behind
Mhm.
what you see or what you read.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reduces a person to a profile.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
A hugely reductionist type of mechanism.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just, you answer these 6 questions in your bio, and now I know who you are.
Yeah.
I've made a cleanup on my Instagram feed here in the last year of like very specifically following people that seem to be more genuine than just like, I'm going to put this one thing out here and let you people like talk it out.
Mm.
It's like, no, we like talk through this stuff. If I put out this point, I like explain myself, and I do my best to be real. And like one of the things that Ben Rector, I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's a music artist. He came out with this little song that everybody's using on like Reels or TikTok, where it's like, I just want to remind you that the internet isn't real. And all of these people are showing their houses like super put together and like super clean. And then they're like, LOL, this is what it looks like all the time. And then they change it, and there's just like kids' toys everywhere and dog toys everywhere, and the floor is dirty and the
Yeah.
kitchen table's a mess. And it's like, wow, okay, I feel better about that now.
That looks a little bit more like my life.
Right. And it's like, okay, like you're right. The internet is very curated, and like people do that for a reason. It's nice to make it look like your life is all put together, but nobody's life is that put together. Nobody's.
Yeah. The metaverse.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's wild. You have to learn to see past that, because I think the instinct is to only comprehend what you see and not necessarily like go that next step.
Right.
It's a learned habit to
Mhm.
see what you're seeing there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, like you were saying, when you do that in these issues that people have so much, emotion and are so close to their belief in, it becomes very personal. And when you don't, put the whole of the person behind the viewpoint or the stance, I mean, then it becomes difficult to see anything but, distrust or, hatred toward that. And I think that's where, the tolerance thing, it's like, well, it'd be easier if everyone just believed the same thing, but that's never going to happen.
Right.
Right.
So I also don't know, where the line is at you talk about things being similar, and I think in a really general sense, there's probably some truth there that most people want things to be good in one form or another. But, you know, that also, it's like how high up into our, you know, desire, or how high up into our goals do we need to go to figure out, you know, who we're really aligned with in what we want? Because, you know, I think there comes a point in the methodology where it's not just a matter of how do we get this done, but it is also about, you know, when it's finished, what does it look like? Because to make the world a good place, you know, to just put like a really very general statement out there, I mean, that looks so different to different groups of people.
Yeah.
Because to some people, it's like utopia, where everybody has the same of everything and everybody, you know, lives the same way. I mean, just this, I'm not in support of this, but like, I mean, there are groups out there that to them, the world being a good place is we rule everybody and we kill the people that disagree with us. So like, is that the good place? I mean, you know, we're talking about different methods in a sense, but they carry with them a completely different end result of good. And so like defining what a reconciliation of this problem really looks like, I think that's where we find, you know, who is someone we can work with and who maybe we cannot work with, who's part of our like tribe and who's not. Because
what's the end goal of good?
Yeah, if the result is that everyone who's alive has the food they need in the places that they're going to be, it's either like, okay, well, you can have the people that want to produce more so that everyone is here and has enough, or you have the people that say, well, let's just kill everyone else so that we've got what we need.
Right.
And then it's good because, you know, there's no one without, but it's because they're all dead.
Right.
So very different end results. And I think conversations about the end result are really what's important, because we can argue about the methods all day long, but until we get into agreement with what we want to see as the end goal, I mean, the methods are pretty meaningless if they're not toward a goal. Otherwise, we're just changing things up to look like we're doing something productive.
Right.
And I mean, that's just as fake as the perfect house on the internet.
Right.
Like, we've got this great plan. For what? We don't know. But it's a plan. We're doing something. So, yeah, I think the conversation about end result needs to happen more often. And whether that be about, you know, I think that conversation happens sometimes in politics. I mean, I think world events right now badly need that conversation. Not so much about like what should our response in this moment be, but like what do we want to see when it's all said and done? Right. I think that's an important thing to be talking about.
Be a good one.
It can be personal for your life too. You know, in your house, like you and your spouse argue about something. Well, okay, what do we really want to? What do we really want to have done here?
Yeah, a widespread strategic planning session in a way, which is something I've learned. Where I've learned some strategic planning is actually through the Jefferson Matters Main Street and Chamber organization. They every September, August, fall session, they sit down and redo what they want to do for this next coming year, because what we did maybe isn't what we need to do. And so they're constantly updating their goals and their strategy on how to get that, you know? And that's where I was like, whoa, I was really opened up, and I've been able to like take that and do that for myself and for like the Bell Tower Festival. We've sat down and done some pretty intense strategic planning, trying to like, what is our end result? And then what needs to happen to achieve that? And it's brought a tremendous amount of clarity to my brain as to how I'm going to get somewhere.
Sure.
Because I want this, and then knowing what that goal is too has kept me on task so many times, because
shows you what to say no to.
Yes. Correct.
And it also keeps the whole team on the same page.
Right.
If we're like, okay, we came up with this goal as a team, like that's where we're going to go.
Yeah. And that's unifying.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah.
Brings you together because you know exactly what you're after.
Right.
Especially if you all came up with that goal together and you all signed on together. And it's almost like a course correction throughout the way, because, well, if this is our goal and we have two options here, well, one of them is going to bring us closer to that goal, you know? And so that's the option we have to do. And it might be more inconvenient for us to choose this, but that just means we need to figure out a way to make it happen, and don't quit until we get that.
And it makes decisions where you disagree less personal. Because now it's not about, I don't agree with you and I don't like your idea, but it's, this idea is more in line with our goals. And so that's why we're going with it. It's not about you and me. It's about what is producing the results we want to see that we've all agreed to.
That was an amazing point right there.
Yeah.
And it's to the degree that you can keep yourself from being offended because someone else disagrees with you. I think you have the much higher potential to be a positive person and a powerful person.
Yeah.
Because you're not walking around carrying chips on your shoulder because XYZ, he, she, they said this that disagreed with you. And
those chips weigh you down.
I like that a lot. I would probably snapshot that later and then post that exact thing that you just said. I feel like I'm ruining it right now by just rambling about how good it was.
No, man, it's all good.
It's just like
we got there together, so good
right
work.
Copy, paste, reprint, all that.
Damn. I don't even
Podcast done.
I don't even know if I remember exactly what I said, but
I know.
it was like
Good thing it's on camera.
people don't take it personal. That was
Yeah.
the point. When
And
we're working towards a common goal, it takes the personal offense. I suppose it's not totally gone, but it reduces the opportunity for that.
Makes it easier to choose something different.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to speak your opinion too when it's not, if you have something in disagreement, it's not about me not liking you.
Right.
It's about what's most congruent with our goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, if someone does say something offensive, like that's not the goal. They're not there to offend you.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they're there and like they think that what they're saying is going to help in some way. And sometimes it doesn't at all. But like if you think about the mindset behind what they're saying, so like Tyler and I have been dealing with infertility for like 2 years, and sometimes people come up and they're like, "Well, my sister's best friend, they dealt with infertility for like 4 years, and as soon as they stopped trying, they got pregnant." So, and it's like, okay, I hear that comment and I see where you were like trying to be helpful,
Yeah.
but that is not helpful at all for you to tell me to stop trying for the one thing that we want, you know? So it's like, but those people never say those things to like be rude or mean or condescending.
They just want the world to be a better place.
Right. They do.
They just want you to meet your goal.
Right. And it's like, okay, just brush it off, move on. And then later think about what they're like actually trying to do. They were trying to relate and be like, I see you in that situation and I want better. But like, that wasn't the way to do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, you know, in your point, it's like there's an opportunity to be offended
Right.
and be mad that they're, you know, trying to tell you what you should do when it's not them living it and they don't know what you're going through.
Right.
But when you can just look at the fact that what they want is good,
right,
their intention is right,
it
just isn't the thing that doesn't make me feel good to hear that.
It's not a helpful comment.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of those things that like takes a while for you personally to get to that point of like, okay, they didn't mean that in like a bad way. They were trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
It's just not, and they don't know that. But
I think it's a maturity thing a little bit to like be able to detach yourself from the emotion of a situation. Jocko, his podcast, he talks a lot about detaching from situations and like letting the emotional part not drive your decisions and your thoughts about it. Because I mean, I love something. My uncle, he's a minister, and he was preaching at this youth event like a year ago, and he had a point in his sermon. He was talking about, you know, feelings and emotions, and he said, you can't let your emotions make decisions because your emotions, your feelings, they will destroy you. Because they're a lot of times not true, or they're not 100% true. And a lot of the time they will cause you to do things that if you looked really like pragmatically and you looked from an outside view at the situation, I mean, making emotional decisions are not making calculated decisions. They're not making really productive decisions most of the time. Usually it's something that it's a validation to fulfill that emotion that you're feeling. So like, I'm angry and I'm going to make a decision in the anger. It's not going to be a good one. I'm really sad, and so I'm going to make life decisions in this place. It's not a good idea.
don't cut your hair.
Right.
Speaking from
Well,
experience.
that tends to be one of the things that women do. Like if something crazy happens, let's say your boyfriend broke up with you, a lot of times girls either go dye their hair or they chop it off.
Interesting.
And it's always like, okay, I know you're emotional. Don't do anything with your hair for at least 2 weeks.
Well, it's because in the height of emotion, like, you want to act upon it.
Right.
You want to do something to validate the emotion.
Right.
And I think it's almost like the actions you take in an emotional state. It's like a way of manifesting the emotion in real life.
Exactly.
It's like
this happened.
I feel this inside of me,
Yeah.
and I need it out here to like show that it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like the cutting the hair is a good example
Right.
of that, because it's like I'm gonna do something that shows
Right.
just how awful this is,
Right.
or how I feel about it.
Yeah. Or like completely change your style of how you're dressing.
Right.
Or yeah.
But I think the problem is, well, then when you take action on that and you like manifest that feeling in your life, it's like, then it's there.
Right.
Then
It's there.
that sadness, that anger, it's there.
Well, you can't
that
just
person,
like, get rid of it.
that person you just told off, that relationship you destroyed,
Yeah.
well, it's there now.
Mm-hmm.
You could have like dealt with the anger and gotten rid of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it wouldn't have been there. But you acted on it, and so now
Right.
it's in your life, and now you've got to deal with the consequence of bringing anger into real
Mhm.
life and into a manifestation, a fruition.
Right.
So important to like. Anyway,
Mhm.
I love that point. Your
Yeah.
feelings will destroy you. I love the way he said it.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of Star Wars in a way.
Mm.
Where, just Darth Vader and
Yeah, just take it there.
take it there. That's
Yeah.
what he was warned against.
Mm.
Mhm.
And
Don't let the anger control you.
correct.
Yeah.
Let's get a Star Wars poster up down
I-
here. For those of
was
you
in the-
who have never been in the studio, we've got Mission Impossible posters over here. We've got Count of Monte Cristo. We've got the Lord of the Rings and
And Captain America.
Captain America.
No Star Wars yet, but it
If-
could easily. If I had to get another one, a new one right now, it would be Cinderella Man,
Oh, yeah.
a Russell Crowe movie.
Very
a good one.
interesting.
Which that's why the punching bag is like a good addition.
Oh, nice. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I got that in a white
I was gonna
elephant.
say.
Thank you, Rachel and Noah. In a white elephant thing over Christmas.
Cool.
It was really funny. Our Bible study, we were like, you're not allowed to buy something new for this white elephant.
Mm.
It has to be something from your house. And the range of things that we were all getting rid of was super funny.
Oh, my.
Pretty wild.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. It was good.
It was very good, and that's what I came home with. And it's heavy, and it's
Looks heavy.
gnarly, and it's like that'll be my Cinderella Man
Yeah.
placeholder. I love that movie, but
So have you beat up on that thing a little
I
bit
have
yet?
not yet.
Mm.
I have not.
Gotta
And
hang it.
I gotta hang it, and down here is just not gonna work, and
I got
my
you.
garage is not big enough.
Mm.
We've got issues.
So
I think we have to
makes
get rid
a
of
nice-
the punching bag in our garage, so you can just put it in our garage.
Well, hey, there we go.
We can hang it from the rafter.
Hanging
then-
it would be better
But
than.
then we wouldn't have it down here.
It's
It's
true.
true.
So gotta weigh your options out.
All right, have to figure it out.
So everyone just got a little bio on Dr. Phillip here.
More bio, yeah.
A little more about him.
Why I love movies is because you very rarely in a day-to-day situation, and I think a perfect example of this is what's trending on Twitter today
Oh my gosh.
is Catter Day.
Catter Day. Yeah.
Cat pictures on what they're doing on a Saturday morning. Like, is
Yeah.
that the gist? I don't tweet. I don't twit.
As far as I know,
Have you not heard of Catterday before?
I
That's
hadn't.
a new concept to
You
me.
hadn't either?
No.
Okay. I must have a lot
I'm
of friends
like-
that love cats.
I'm just
'Cause
like appalled.
Catterday's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
There's like national holidays every day, and quote unquote national.
Like every day of the week.
Oh, like every day of the year there is a holiday to celebrate. So there's like 2 different national donut days. One's like donut holes specifically, and one is like regular donuts. There's, National Cat Day, National Spouse Day was this week. And everyone
Oh.
was posting pictures with their spouse and
Well, shoot.
I missed that.
bragging
I didn't
on
get a
them, but
post.
like it's fine.
I didn't make a post.
Right.
Sorry, Taylor. You're awesome. Love you. Even though I
It's
lost
just
my wedding
funny.
ring. But we found it.
Oh, good.
We did find it. That's a story.
And it's getting
happened?
resized.
It's
right?
getting resized. Yeah. If anybody's wondering, I had to take it down 3/4 of a size. Moral of the story: when you're trying rings on in the store and it's warm out, get them smaller.
Make
'em-
sure
it's
it's
key.
tight.
they can be hard to take off.
Right.
You can always get some soap.
True statement.
But
Right.
then when you're outside in the dead of winter and it flies off your hand into a snow pile,
Treacherous.
no bueno.
Danger.
But it's okay. We found it.
Right.
That's
Praise-
good.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise.
Yeah.
Well,
Movies are good. They
Yeah.
do present real life
Well-
situations in an exaggerated way that make it easy to relate to.
Because day-to-day life can get mundane sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think Twitter exemplifies that. Like the thing going on right now is Catter Day. Like that's nothing. That's
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
So, and there are areas of the world where every day is intense.
I
But
know.
in modern day suburbia America, I mean,
It's like that's what we have to do to entertain ourselves.
you've got a lot of time on your hands if you're posting photos of if you have a cat at all. B, if you
Wow, Alicia would be offended.
I don't you've got some time on your hands.
We're
And-
dog
Right.
people, okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
we put that right up front today.
I will
we are
say,
dog people.
If there was room at my house, there would be a cat.
Oh, yeah,
but-
well,
Pets in
That's-
general, if you have a pet and you're taking
Right.
care of it,
Got some time.
That's
Yeah,
a
a little time.
non-necessity to
It's
life.
true.
You've got some
Right.
time. That
Unless
period
it's a
and
dog that like
objective-
works with you. Like if you're a farmer and your dog goes out and like
sure.
does chores with you, a little different, but more like a companion at
Right.
that point.
So, movies though
Yeah.
will take you to a place where you're confronted with like a tough decision.
yeah.
And I love it because it makes you think about what you're going to do
Mm-hmm.
when tough
Mhm.
times arise. It's kind of like forming you. And you can sit there like a drone and just kind of watch it. Or you can
Think critically.
think critically.
Yeah.
And I tend to think critically. I don't know. I'm kind of a maniac during movies sometimes. Bridget, like, we just watched The Eternals.
Mm.
And I don't know. Everyone had said it was really bad. And I didn't think it was that bad.
Okay.
Because of the critical thinking it provided.
I see.
Yeah.
It was a very critical movie, and so we were like laying down, and Bridget was like, I can't wait to hear all these things that are going through your mind right now, because it's like, yeah, I'm going to analyze this for a while.
So you're looking at it a little, like on a little bit of a deeper level than the like
Right.
surface action and the wow
Correct.
factor of your favorite superheroes.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
I feel like people miss that with WandaVision too. Like feel how you feel about that movie, but like that made you think about what you would do in that situation. You know? Like
Yeah.
love of your life dies in front of you and you can create a world where you get to still live with him. What? Wild.
Gnarly, right?
Wow.
When you're faced with crazy power
Right.
and crazy opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
what are you going to do with
Right.
it?
And then she acted with her emotions, which is why all that happened. But like
Yeah.
crazy.
Which is full circle. Back
Right.
to Star Wars is, again, the same thing.
Yeah.
Acting out of emotions is,
Mm-hmm.
which, it makes you part of who you are. I mean, because your emotional makeup is like part of you.
Yeah.
But then like when that is the decision making,
When it's in the driver's seat,
correct,
Mm-hmm.
that's a dangerous
it
place.
is a dangerous
Right.
place.
It should be a contributor, but not the final.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it makes me think too about the objectivity of truth and how emotion is almost like assumed as truth now,
Mm.
which I think is so dangerous because there might be truth in emotion. Like, yeah, it's true, you do feel that way, but your feelings are not comprehensive of the situation at hand
Right.
because you don't know what's going on with the other person. You don't
Mhm.
know the events that led up to what happened. It's just all you've got is what you feel. So
Mhm.
to say,
Mhm.
I feel this way, and so that is all there is to it. I mean, that's just short-sighted.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point of movies, I just had this thought while we were talking, and I would pose this as a question for you, Doctor. Do you think that there are times where people satisfy the need for something like larger or something difficult in life? Do they satisfy that desire with a movie instead of putting themselves and interjecting into a situation where there is real difficulty, real risk, real consequence? I mean, do you think is it like part of the meta that instead of like living out real challenges and real situations, we just like watch other people live them out and satisfy that need in us through that?
I would say this is a new thought to me,
Mm.
which makes me feel like I hope I don't do that, though I'm sure I do to some degree.
I'm
But
sure we all do to a degree.
yes, I feel like people largely do that. And I feel like even more than movies, maybe sitcoms do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you sit down and watch, and how many times do people rewatch? I've done it. Rewatch a show
Right.
because you get that
Yeah, I get
kind
it.
of thirst versus
It
living the thing
satisfies
on
the
your own.
desire in there. And I think like video games are kind of that way too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a whole genre of video
Yeah.
games it's all about, it's RPG role-playing games, and all you do is pretend you're someone else
Right.
living this crazy life
Yeah.
and doing all these crazy things. And like that was a big revelation kind of in my life and an enlightening moment. And I've like preached about it before, how I was like, one time I was going through, I have an Xbox, and you can go through your profile and look at how much time you've spent on all these games.
Isn't that so scary?
Oh my gosh, it's the worst. Like, if you don't want to be challenged, don't ever do this.
Right.
Because, I mean, it made me feel bad about myself, because I was like, wow, I've spent that much time on that game, and that game.
Right.
And one of the
When I
games
could've
I
been
was
doing other things.
right, one of the games I was playing, and you talked earlier about like the little acreage we've got and some of the things we're doing. Well, I had been playing Farm Simulator, which it's got an appeal. I mean, you get to act like you're running tractors and, you know, all this big equipment. So like it's kind of cool. And I like look at this and it's like you've played X number of hours or like days on this game.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this is so stupid. Like I could go outside and actually produce something in real life,
Right.
instead of just like pretending to do it on this stupid game that's
Right.
just wasting time
Right.
and money and energy, and
Right.
there's nothing to show for it. That was the thing that got me. I was like,
Mm.
if I live it in real life, there's like product. There's something beneficial at the
Right.
end. If I just do it in this game, I just saw a video the other day, like it was on Facebook, and it was like making fun of like completionist ideas in playing video games, which is like I'm gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna get a game to 100% completion, and they like addressed how empty it feels at the end, and it's like because I thought it was gonna be great, I was gonna do this big thing, I was gonna complete the video game, and there's nothing.
That would
Nothing
be,
at
that would
the
be me.
end.
You get the achievement. It's like ding, you did
Right.
it, 100%.
100%.
It's like wow. And the guy in this video even goes, wow, like I thought I was gonna feel a lot. He goes, there was like an emptiness on the inside that I thought this was gonna fill, and it doesn't.
Ooh.
It's like because your desire is like, I just preached about it last week, be fruitful with your life, like to produce something beneficial. And when all you do is waste your time vicariously living through others in a metaverse that doesn't exist,
Right.
you're empty at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know that you want me to
Right.
like start talking about like some of the issues people feel today, but like, why do people feel depressed and empty? I'm not saying this is the only reason, but I think part of the reason is that we are experiencing things like watching or playing in a not real world. And then when we
All the
see
time.
no results to it,
Right.
I leveled up my character, but I'm still unhealthy and I still have nothing. Like I have no money, I have no possessions. Like,
Right.
It's the Matrix, bro.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're just deceived.
Yeah.
You're tricked into think you're doing the things that you should be doing, but you're not actually doing any of it.
Right.
And it's like, no wonder you're unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Sad.
Right. Which is just a call to reanalyze maybe where your time is going and your resources, which is the things we talk about is the 4 big areas of life. One of them being your resources that you have to manage, because if you don't, it will take advantage of you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Resources takes advantage of you subtly because you don't realize where your time's going until after you've spent it.
Right.
And then you have that unfulfilled
Then
feeling.
you see the emptiness.
Correct. So if
It's like the neglecting of resources is what destroys them.
correct, not even mismanaging them, just neglecting to manage them in a fruitful way, which is, why we're here. I think this is one thing we felt the call to do this because this was about managing our time and our energy in a fruitful way. A, for us, but B, for whoever can listen and pull one carrot of goodness,
Right.
you know?
It's true. So to wrap up the little farm sim thing, quit playing it.
Quit playing it.
Deleted it off the Xbox.
Whoa.
And got some cows.
And you got some real
Got
cows.
some
Okay.
Got some real
Cows.
cows.
So
Then
that
I'm gonna farm for real.
That's right. I was like, I can keep pretending to do this, or I can just do it.
was that an actual real
That was the thought.
I love
It
it.
was I can pretend to live, or I can live,
amazing?
and so I'm gonna live.
Man. I
Did
love
you have
it.
did you have to do any like huge preparation into like the financialness, or I mean, did you have the money sitting there, or did you have to save and wait for a little while before you were able to jump on the investment?
I mean, I had the ability to do it right away, but I waited a little bit. I made sure, like, I like having a little cushion, you know, in
Cushion's
the
a
bank
good thing.
account. Man.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Cushion
So
is good.
I let it build a little bit. I mean, I had the ability to jump right in, but I wanted to wait until we were in a more comfortable place. And I waited for the right opportunity. So like I started making preparation as soon as I decided I was going to, and at first I didn't even know if it would be like cows or like we talked about doing a pretty extensive garden, like greenhouse project. But the cows, they seemed like kind of an easier barrier to entry. So that's why we went with that. But I immediately, I knew we were going to do something. So I began, managing funds in a way that would prepare us for that. And then I began looking at our facility that we have there, and I knew I was going to need to do fence. So I started studying about fencing and how to repair things. I started lining up equipment. I had this water line start leaking last year. So I knew I was going to have to get that repaired so that I had the utility systems in place. So it's there were projects that had to happen before we could bring cows home, and I just started knocking them out.
It's awesome.
And it's make the decision you're going to do it, and then do the work, and that was it. So
make the decision, choose the outcome that you want.
Yeah.
Choose the route to get to that outcome.
Yeah.
Don't quit till you got it.
And when you've got the decision made, it makes doing the work so much easier, because it's not a question. It's not do I want to do that? Do I need to do that? Right. It's well, if you want to get here, these are the things that have to happen first. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do it. Then I'm going to do the next thing. Yeah. Then I'm going to do the next thing until it's all done and we're there. Mm-hmm. So
one of the things we've been doing at our house is when there is a house project that we want to do, we want to make a river table for a dining room table.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it ever since we got married. And it was we need to put this on the calendar. There needs to be an end date. So we have a weekend in the spring where it's happening.
Right. It's on the calendar.
Pumped about it because the project's actually going to get done.
Right.
And it doesn't just sit there and we're wondering what's going on. Hello, Nala.
It's the real life here.
That's the real life.
Just pretend you're listening to Rogan, right?
Right.
Just hanging out.
Hanging out. Nala's greeting somebody.
Hello, Nala.
Hello, Nala.
Hello, friends.
Yeah. I think that's what it takes, though. It's just make the decision that you're going to do it and then do it.
Right.
And then the one thing that helps me as a mantra, I'm going to go into this, I suppose, is Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. There was a 1 hour special on some app. And I watched it because Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are arguably the two greatest coaches of the collegiate and NFL football. Arguably the greatest guys. And they meet. They're friends. They coached together for 4 years in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns and took their defense from last in the league to first in the league.
Wow.
And then they both got different jobs and they split ways. But they still meet in the offseason every year. And one thing that they both say, because it's something they grabbed together, was do your job. And there was a clip, and it was both of them coaching, yelling at the players, do your job, you're messing up, you're not doing your job,
that's
do
awesome.
Your job, right? And that's just the thing. You have your role, stick to it, don't give up, keep after it.
Don't worry about somebody else either.
Great
Assume
point.
they're doing their job.
Thank you, Lyndsey Wathen.
That's a good one.
So because if your partner is doing what they're doing and you're doing what you're supposed to do, then you have a team that's capable of doing something effective. Yep. So I found myself thinking that to me as when I have my outcome that I want and I have the steps to get there, do your job.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing something that's not my job, okay, reset. Do your job. Get busy. Go after it. Find the way and the time to do it. And it was an effective little 1 hour thing. I went into that watching it to try to learn something, and that was the thing that I pulled from it.
Wow.
That is a good thing.
That's a good one.
It makes me think too, and this is just kind of my line of thoughts that are questions, is how does that interact then when you get into a leadership role where your job is involved with the jobs of others? Because the summary I think of when we say do your job is well, stay in your lane, do your thing really well, and don't worry about everyone else. Yeah. But what about when it's your job to be
in other people's lanes,
concerned with other people? What about when it's your job not necessarily to worry about, but to think about everyone else?
Right.
How do you effectively do that? And I think that's just where it gets takes more intention to know, because it's I need to know what my role in their job is, and then just do that, because then it's not even a matter of I just stay away from what they're doing and let them do it. It's well, I have to be involved, but I'm only going to be involved to the point that I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And then trust them with the rest. And I think that's where leadership gets so complicated, because it's
totally agree.
well, I'm either all in or I'm all out. Totally hands on or totally hands off.
Right.
And neither of those are right.
There needs to be a happy medium.
Right.
Yeah. It's you need to know what your job as a leader is with them.
Right.
And then do that and not do everything else.
Yeah.
Still let them do it, but do your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that just takes that intentional thought.
Yeah.
Think about it. Don't just go all in on one or all out. Think about it.
Right.
Dr. Ken Wilson, our previous guest, would be pumped about this conversation. He's a big intention guy. I feel like I've learned a lot about intention from him, and your intention is very important.
Yeah, I agree.
On what you think needs to happen and what you want to happen. Your intention is very important. So, boom.
I'm there with you. It reminded me of one other quote, too. I'll give this to you by John Wooden.
Love him. UCLA, basketball head coach. Pyramid of success. He's a legend. This dude is awesome.
Just
John Wooden.
hit your trigger there
Oh, yeah.
for a second.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
He goes, do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. And to me, that's that same do your job.
Do your job.
Don't try to do someone else's. Don't try to be something you're not. Just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. Love
I'm
it.
taking this to volleyball practice next week.
Bam.
For sure.
Some good stuff.
Absolutely.
Wow. Good coaching. Yeah.
Hour?
10:50 right now. Yeah, 55 minutes.
55 minutes. Short and sweet. Get in, get out. Hammer it out. I've been looking for a new tagline, too, like something to help our searchability and like unfiltered. And then our catchphrase is revealing tactics to meet life's demands. But if I feel like we need something in the middle, like unfiltered.
Do your job.
Do your job.
Just do your job. If we were,
Just going to steal that Bill
steal
Belichick.
that.
And
Thanks, Bill.
Nick Saban.
Thanks, Nick.
Shout out, Bill.
Shout out. I was thinking, I probably shouldn't say this, on drum it up. Unfiltered, drum it up.
Drum it up.
Yeah, so we pick a topic and then we just get into it. We drum it up as deep as we can.
Oh, like
feel
we
like-
just do like a little drum
And,
intro.
and then we have our thing. Unfiltered, drum it up, coming at you.
This? I'll do it.
Oh, do we have a drum sound?
Probably.
Drum roll, please.
Yeah. I mean,
sort of. Not
Telling-
really.
Telling jokes.
if we were right, if we were all about jokes, there's
If we were
probably a sound
comedians.
there, right? We could install
could
that
get a
for
roll
sure.
We
on.
can do that.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Just bring a snare down
Isaac
here.
can just do it with his mouth.
It's true. You
Got a
are
little bit.
very musically gifted. So
Another little bio. It's kind of you to say.
it's good. Well, that was too good to like try to go somewhere else, because if we go somewhere else, we're gonna
Just
take
diminishing returns now.
correct. That was too good. So that was episode 22, I believe. We should just outro and wrap it because
Do the work.
do the work, do your job,
Live
live
for now.
Yeah,
Don't pretend to live. Live.
for sure. Find out what you want, go after it.
Yeah. Yeah. Set your goals. Work toward your goals.
Boom,
Live your life.
for sure.
Love it.
Think critically.
Wow.
She's Lyndsey.
He's
know.
Philip.
He's Isaac.
This
Wow.
is Unfiltered Tips, Tactics to Help Me Life's May.
That's right.
That's what we're doing.
Right
And a
on.
drum roll.
Drum
Too
roll.
fun.
Okay, till
right.
next time.
Peace
See
out.
ya.
See ya.